I've had to deal with it in depth 2017 when I tried to kill myself.
There were quite a few occasions where I would just close the curtains, turn off the lights, switch off my phone, switch off all communication assets, and I'll just sit there in darkness for hours on end.
Hi, my name is Abi. I'm currently unemployed, but I'm working on YouTube and other stuff. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Henry Stone. I'm a writer, journalist, performance poet, and a sometime activist. First thoughts that when I hear mental health, if I'm being honest, I think of unexplained pain, or pain that can't be expressed correctly. So as a result, it gets bottled up inside. That's normally the first thing that comes across my mind when I hear the term mental health. Not even mental illness, because in my, experience with it, it's tended to be negative. It's not like that anymore, but it definitely was for quite a few years. So when I hear the term mental health, my mind immediately goes into, okay, mental illness.
When I think about mental health, I think about physical health. Everybody has mental health, and I think everybody associates it with something bad. Because it's the way you think, the way you are about life. Sometimes you could be in a bad place, sometimes you could be in a good place, but I don't think when you say mental health, it's associated with something good. It's always associated with something bad. Yes, it's something I've dealt with all my life, I can say that. Coming from the home that I came from, it's a lot to explain, but I know that I've had to deal with it in depth 2017 when I tried to kill myself.
Oh man, in 2015 or 14, I do not remember. That's another thing. When you're deep in, when you have, whether it be clinical depression or, well, I'm gonna focus on clinical depression because that's my immediate experience. Your concept of time literally disappears. But yeah, I think it was either the end of 2014 or 15, I can't remember which, I was diagnosed with clinical depression by my university doctor and my university counsellor. So that led on to a knock-on effect of having issues with anxiety, having issues with eating disorders and such, suicidal thoughts. There were, I wouldn't say extreme, there were bouts of self-harm, but not to the extreme, not like cutting myself, more like pinching myself and scratching myself and stuff along those lines.
The reason why I got into that place was because I wanted something so bad. I wanted a particular job so bad. I finally got it, and then it just went completely wrong for me. I went through bullying, I went through a lot, racism at work, and it just put me in a place of like self-reflection where I had to analyze myself and think, do I want to be in this place? Do I want to continue being upset every single day? I cried at work a number of times, and I just thought, I can't do this anymore. Like, I don't want to be at work, I don't want to be at home, I just want to end it right now. And so, yeah, I had a lot of suicidal thoughts, and that's what caused me to stand near a window. And I just remember my mum on one side and my brother on the other side just shouting and asking me, like, what could be this bad? When you see someone in that situation, you need to forget about yourself and think about that person and what that person is going through, because, boy, this life, yeah, is only one, and every day is literally when people say, oh, it's a blessing, they're not lying. It's literally a blessing. I regret that day, and that's the only day I regret in my life, ever. And I've had bad days, and that's the only day that I regret. That I put my mum in that situation, that I saw my brother cry like that even I cried like that. And having my older brother say, you have too much faith to even put yourself in that situation. Like, only now can I say, I feel so stupid for doing that. But then I can say,
it seemed like the right thing.
I wanted to end everything. Like, I wanted to end the noise. I wanted to end what I was going through, the fact that I didn't have money, the fact that I left a job where they treated me like complete shit. Like, I just wanted to end everything. And I didn't care what it costed me.
When you're raised on, let's say, an estate, for example, like I was, you have to learn certain skills in order to survive, but they don't teach you how to be by yourself. The block don't teach you that. The teachers don't teach you that. And in some cases, especially if you're Afro-Carib, your parents might not teach you that as much as they think they do. So when you're finally thrown in the deep end and you realize you're alone, perhaps you don't have all of the skills you needed in order to survive. That may have been what triggered it for me. Or even worse, you had a lot of stuff that you experienced a lot of stuff growing up and you never really dealt with it properly. So once you were finally on your own and there was no one who was coming to save you, no one coming to get you, and the devil realized he has a free swing at you, you may have started to break down. That was definitely, those things were kind of my narrative. So, man, a lot of things happened in that 3 years. Between 2014 and 2017, life was, we allowed to swear in this, or are we keeping it true? Yeah, life was shit, man. Honestly, life was actually shit. I can tell you that for free. It sucked. It's not I'll be real with you, it's not a thing that I talk about with pride. I'm not proud that I had to go through that sort of suffering. I'm not proud that anyone has to go through crazy amounts of suffering. I am proud, however, that you have the internal strength to overcome it. I think there's something to be said for that. However, it's a very, very lonely and dark place, like, and it affects your lifestyle. People think it's just, there are a lot of tears, there is a lot of pain and angst, anger and angst, and perhaps self-hatred, but people don't talk about how it affects your day-to-day, how it affects your ability to interact with people. So doing basic things such as cooking and shit, basic stuff like that, or even worse, going to your lecture in the morning, leaving your room. Like I remember there was think it was 2016. I was in a horrendous place mentally, and I think I starved myself of food and water for like 24, I don't even remember. It was either a day or two. I can't even, see, when you're going crazy, you just don't even remember stuff properly, man. Yeah, things like that, well, this didn't happen to me, but I know certain people, they stopped doing basic things such as taking a shower in the morning. I remember there were quite a few occasions where I would just close the curtains, turn off the lights, switch off my phone, switch off all communication assets, and I'll just sit there in darkness for hours on end. It was literally like I was just talking. It was literally like I wasn't even talking to myself. I'd just be there in silence, spending time with ghosts or demons, whichever you prefer. It was insane, man. It was very, very insane. And I guess it could explain why, perhaps, in my work, if anyone's ever heard it or anyone hears it, there might be a lot of rage or sadness or melancholy. Because when you're going through it and no one's coming to get you, two things happen. You die or you deal. Do you know what I mean? I know that might sound dramatic, but it really is that. So yeah, those are some of the things I went through. Some of the things anyway. Oh my goodness.
In the community, I don't think that they care. It might not be that they don't care. It might just be that they don't understand or they're not ready for change. But I feel like with my mum or my parents, I feel like we are a family of communicating. So we'll have like family meetings and we speak to each other. So like I'm able to sit with my sisters or my mum and be like, okay, this is how I'm feeling. And so sometimes you don't get what you're looking for. Sometimes you don't get the reply that you're looking for, but she's learning, like my mum's learning, and yeah.
Some people turn around and tell you that maybe because it's not, if you're a first generation, if your parents are first generation Afro-Caribbean, so effectively immigrants in this country, some might say they may lack understanding due to how they were raised, due to their culture. I can understand that and I can appreciate that, but as a grown adult, there's a limit in how much I can say because it's not your culture, it's okay for you to not understand. I think there's a point, and I think there's a point where you have to say that's not good enough. I think a lot of parents, and I do want to state that I appreciate that it's something that it's difficult to, and I don't mean this in an ageist way, but it is difficult to learn and be open to wholly new concepts when you get to a certain age, when you've done things one way for so long, for literally decades upon decades upon decades, and then suddenly you're told to change up. I understand that's hard, but I think parents are not educated enough. So when their children do begin to display symptoms of a problem, they don't know how to deal, and maybe because they don't know how, they don't want to, or maybe they just can't. I do think it's something that needs to be addressed far better, and I do think people need to be more, in the Afro-Caribbean community, they need to be more educated so that they can see the signs before, someone's state can deteriorate rapidly. So that it's a point of prevention as opposed to, okay, how do we deal with the consequences? But I guess that comes from education. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't think, I don't think Afro-Caribbean community, especially the parents and such of our generation, they're not as equipped as they should be. But then I guess it's up to those who are equipped as they should be, are equipped to then go and educate. But that's that work happens in homes, it happens in communication, it happens in discussions over the phone, family sit-downs, whatever you want to call it. That's where I think the main issue lies.
I suffer with overthinking and anxiety, and I think dealing with it, and now I know what it is. So when I feel like I'm being like anxious, like I can tell that something's going on, that I need to stop and then start again. Or my overthinking could be that I'm just in the room by myself and I'm just there thinking, okay, what's the next step? And then I have to take a minute and just be like, hold on, you can't do everything on your own. You have to ask for help. You have people around you who are there to help. So there's nothing wrong with asking for help.
I go to the gym 4 days a week. That is literally an why, man? Why? That's literally an antidepressant. Going there definitely clears my mental health, and also I can put all of the key thing is about channeling. How do you channel? Because I guess you can't just get rid of negative emotion and energy. I think you can just channel it into something else. So you can channel it into connect movement that you do at the gym, whether it be lifting weights or doing cardio. That definitely helps my mental state. I write effectively every day. So it no longer, when I have these particular emotions, they no longer linger in my mind. They almost, I wouldn't say immediately, but very quickly it goes from inception to paper. So I don't dwell on it too much. I don't do the thing where I completely pretend as though it's not happening. That's very dangerous. It's similar to, I don't know if you watched the movie Pacific Rim, where you have the two characters in the robot, and then their minds have to sync, but they have to remember all of their most painful memories. But the key for the sync to work is that you remember the pain, you acknowledge it, and then you move on. You don't dwell on it. And I think that's a key thing for me. I make sure that I acknowledge what's going on, I acknowledge how I'm feeling, I'm mindful of it, I express mindfulness, and then I channel it into something else, whether it be going to the gym, writing it down, or writing how I feel as a creative. Those are two of the main ways I deal with it, and also talking to people in my support system, people who I trust. Those are the main ways I've been dealing with it, and if I'm being totally honest, I haven't, ever since I've been doing it that way, I haven't really had any problems since.
I still struggle with anxiety, I still struggle with overthinking. I know that I'm not meant to work for someone. I know that I'm meant to work for myself because of the way my mind is set up. I have so much that I want to execute, but I feel like I'm my own worst enemy. I'm holding myself back. But it's something that I learn every day. Like, life is a lesson. You learn every single day. And I'm still learning to come out of my comfort zone. I feel like I did that in the beginning of the year, but then I stopped halfway because I felt nervous, I don't know.
I would recommend seeing a counsellor or a therapist, whichever you want to call it. However, I do understand why people may not be comfortable opening up to a stranger. Although it did work in parts for me. I would say, because the thing about mental illness is it's so tailored individually. When you start giving mass advice, it's dangerous, man. It's one of the reasons why I don't speak for, well, I talk about my struggle, but I don't speak for everyone else no more, because I'm like, it's so tailored. However, general tips, find people you can trust and express to them how you feel. I think sharing that load will help you, because a burden shared is a burden halved, right? Personally, I'd say write out how you're feeling. Keep a journal, keep a diary, whatever you want to call it, and write it out. Because the whole key thing is not keeping it in here, making it go somewhere. I would also go and recommend going to the gym. I'd recommend making sure that you have a strong support system around yourself, so that, you know, you have people to rely on when things are going crazy, because especially being a Londoner, this city will tear you to pieces if you let it, honestly. We've all been there. So having a support system in place, whether it be parents, teachers, lecturers, if you've got a relationship like that, co-workers, colleagues, bosses, unloading on people that you trust not to judge you, people that you trust not to dismiss you. I think that would be a key thing for me. But yeah, communication is key. Communication has always been key.
I would say that, I mean, not everybody has people that they can talk to, but everybody has family. And I'm sure family are gonna listen. Like there has to be one member of your family who loves you and who is willing to listen. I'm lucky that I have so many people in my life who are ready to sit down with me and ask me what's wrong, you know, what are you going through? And then another thing is like focusing on yourself. You have to love yourself. No one's gonna love you as much as you love yourself. Like, I can't say that, I say that constantly, like I love myself, but do I really? Like, you really genuinely have to love yourself, because if you don't, no one is gonna do. One thing that stopped me from jumping was love. Love for my family, love for God, my faith in God, and knowing that every day is a different day. Knowing that you have, once you go to sleep, when you wake up, you have a new opportunity to start your day. That's it.
While it's not your fault, it is your responsibility to fix. I understand that you never asked for the burdens that you had to bear. And while it's painful now, although it's difficult, and I am talking from experience, your scars will make for beautiful artwork in the future. All I can beseech you to do, all I can beg you to do, is keep taking it day by day. Because the night is always darkest before the dawn.